Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Fourtress Finest, a spinoff of our regular The Fortress of podcast, where some of us from that podcast talk about a thing. And whether or
Mhm.
not that thing is the finest or we are the finest is the gimmick of the show. Time around, though, we've done in the past, we've done The Rings of Power season one, we've done The Last of Us season one. This time we're doing a movie, first ever movie. And by we, I mean, is Devin and I
Mhm.
we're going to talk about and spoil the new Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie that just came out. Reason being, there's just so much stuff happening in the world and as far as pop culture and stuff, um, that we decided to put talk about this here in one of these little episodes. Instead of our regular podcast. Um, so yeah. So with that, if you've listened to any of these in the past, listeners, we just go spoilers straight out the gate. There is no non-spoiler part.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we're here. Let's talk about this movie. Devin, what do you think about this movie?
I had a good time. I really, I thought it was a pretty good. This is. I'm a person that hasn't played Dungeons and Dragons. I always have wanted to though, since it's. I think it's made a bit of a resurgence in recent years, maybe thanks to Stranger Things. But don't really know much about the lore or anything else. Just know like how the game kind of generally works.
Right.
But I think you know of you could have gone two different ways. You could have tried really hard to like do kind of like a Peter Jackson style, like, Lord of the
Hmm.
Rings, like go just, we get the lore, right? Or you could go what they did, which is like, let's just kind of throw in some Easter eggs.
Let's make a Guardians movie in a fantasy world.
Right. And I feel like because Dungeons and Dragons kind of can be your own story every time, right? And it's kind of just
Hmm.
generally set in a fantasy spot and there's like, some factions, whatever. I think that was the right approach to take.
Right.
And yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I hope they make another one.
Yeah. I did enjoy this movie. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as you did. No, but I definitely didn't think it was bad. It was very light, very fun. I thought a lot of the jokes were pretty good throughout.
Hmm.
I think probably the biggest problem for me by the end, and we'll get into it more, is probably some of the effects are still not great. There are
Yeah.
some pretty wonky CG ness, and I get it. It's a completely CG world for the most part,
Hmm.
and for the most part, it's done pretty well. But there are some wonkiness that I'm like, yeah, this movie is kind of exactly what I expected. I didn't expect it to be the best thing in the world, and it's better than I think we all initially were unsure if this movie would even be good.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was kind of like a happy surprise that it was decent. But because I don't know if you've seen Game Night, Devin.
I haven't yet. God, I've been told I
Oh,
need to see it though.
that is a fantastic movie. I thoroughly enjoy that movie. That's the same directors as this, so that's why I was
Oh,
looking
okay.
forward to this based
Gotcha.
off of Game Night and the humor in that. I think Game Night's better as a movie as a whole. I think that there's better jokes in that. But I thought this one was really well done, and
Interesting.
yeah.
It's interesting you say that because yeah, Game Night was a comedy, and I kind of wish that's maybe my one critique on this movie is I wish it had kind of leaned more into that side because
Yeah.
I had this complaint with like I think Baywatch, and there's been a few more that have kind of like looked like they've kind of looked over like the copying notes from like Marvel, like
Right.
copying the formula a little bit, but then they also try to be a little too serious with like their main story, which we really don't care about. So like
Mhm.
if you acknowledge like like Guardians of the Galaxy was like the first one that did it like to perfection, like good amount, like
Yeah.
good comedy mixed with like a serious plot that we actually have stake in and care about. But a movie like this, where like we don't really care about the villain, like the villain's like a piece of white bread. I mean, well,
Yeah.
Hugh Grant was great, but
Hugh Grant is great.
the real bad guys were just like very, just
Very
very
generic.
standard, generic. So it's like if
Yeah.
you know that that's kind of going to be the level, you're going to be at, just go hard in on the comedy and make it more about that. So
Right.
I kind of wish they had leaned more on the funny bone.
And there's like elements of that, but yeah, because
Yeah.
I agree. Like, well, let's talk about it. We're in spoilers, obviously. Let's talk about it.
Hmm.
The most serious part of the movie is obviously the Chris Pine character's uh journey of being a better dad and making
Hmm.
the right choices and everything. And I could see what they were going because the arc is there in the sense that his whole arc goes from and they literally like spell it out to you by saying like the
Yeah.
whole line of he
Just
he
let it
says
go.
early in the movie when he's trying to convince his daughter Kira that he he wasn't stealing the tablet of what's it the tablet of reawakening to for riches. He wasn't trying to do it to get rich. He was trying to bring her mother back. But
Mm-hmm.
then in reality, he wasn't actually doing that. They kind of do this thing with the actual dialogue where he says, "I didn't want to bring your mother back. I just wanted to bring my wife back."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there is a distinct difference there, obviously, because by the end you see that Kira never even knew who her mother was. And
Mm-hmm.
Holga, Michelle Rodriguez's character, basically was her mother, and so he makes the choice at the end to actually bring her mother back and not bring his wife back,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which I thought was a sweet way. But I'm just like, this is a bit shoehorned, and I know what you're trying to do,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
just doesn't quite work because it is very light. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I did have a little bit of emotional, like, I had some chills going during that scene. Like,
yeah,
didn't well up, but I did
no,
feel
yeah.
something.
I was genuinely surprised that because I thought they were gonna kill her. I was like, "Oh my god, they're actually gonna kill someone in this party." I didn't think a death was coming at some point, so it got me. The surprise got me, you know?
See, at one flashback, there was like a butterfly, and like at one
Yeah,
flashback, his wife was telling him like to let her go. So I knew, I was like, okay, he's gonna not bring her back. Like he's gonna learn to
right.
let go of that part of his
Yeah,
life. And I do like how they kind of very wholesomely handled that.
yeah. No, it was well done, but, yeah, not as good as the Guardians level in terms of it, but,
Yeah,
not terrible. It's just fine, it was pretty good. It
yeah,
was pretty good.
yeah.
Since we're talking about Chris Pine on the characters, let's start with him. Let's just kind of go down the group of
Mm-hmm.
misfits. I thought Chris Pine is good. I think Chris Pine's pretty much good in anything he's in for the most
Yeah.
part. Like he's very charismatic and charming, and he knows how to deliver a line.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, I think they could have done more. I really enjoyed the scene where he was like singing and like they're doing the full bard. I wish they had done more of it. Like
I agree.
I wish they had done like
Yeah,
two or three things where he had to like sing a song and kind of like maybe there's a fight or something going on. But like just
yeah.
I mean, I kind of forgot that he was going to do it because I knew from the trailer that like there was a scene with him with the lute and that then it
Right,
kind of
right.
like there was like the last shot of the trailer. But man, I mean, I wish they'd lean into that more because that was funny and it could have been even better.
Yeah. And one of like the most disturbing like effects in the movie when
Yeah, that
his
was weird.
his weird illusion starts to like melt.
Oh, those it worked pretty well. Those guards were like very transfixed for a large amount of
Right.
time by that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree because like I kind of forgot that he was a bard throughout the majority of this movie.
mm-hmm.
Like I was like, oh, I forgot that everyone's got like a weird, they're like a class or like a barbarian or a druid and shit. And I was like, oh yeah, he's a bard. He's supposed to do some songs and
Oh
stuff.
man, I love the line where the fawn girl's like, wait, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm the plan guy. And it's like, well, we have the plan, so what do we need you
Yeah,
for now? Like,
you make a plan. Your job is to make plans that fail.
yeah. So you make bad plans.
Yeah.
This is pretty good.
But yeah, there wasn't. Yeah, you'd think that because like every time I'm just going straight to like The Witcher, there's always like a very memorable song, and
Hmm.
there wasn't that for this movie. I think they attempted it, but I couldn't. If you ask me right now, I don't know what that song was that they sang in this movie
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yeah, and especially when they had tried to have like kind of an emotional pull to it at the end when it was getting serious, that one
Yeah,
fell flat for me. I was like, that's too forced.
it didn't work. It did not work for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you know what did work for me is Michelle Rodriguez's character as Holga,
Hmm.
the muscle of the group,
Hmm.
and Michelle Rodriguez is good in the movie. I think she's pretty good. She does what she needs to do. I think her best action sequence for me is that one where Chris Pine's character is just on the ground trying to his rope that he's wrapped in.
Oh
His hands are
yes,
bound.
yes,
She kicks the ever living shit out of everyone. I think the choreography in that is really good and
yeah,
creative.
that was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, like, the whole choreography of her, like, just using a brick to beat the shit out of a bunch of dudes, and, like,
Yeah,
she's, like, obviously got, like, almost, like, superhuman strength because she's, like, chucking dudes across
right.
the
They
room
they
and
didn't really get into
everything.
that, but it looks like them barbarians are strong as hell.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. I think actually a lot of the choreography in this is really good. Jumping ahead real quick to the what's his name? It's the Reggae Jean Page character, Zenk, the paladin guy who's very
Oh
very much
man.
the Drax of this universe of he's just very serious and doesn't
Yeah.
understand metaphors and
See, to me, he felt that's what kind of for me it felt like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of character to add in because he was so one dimensional that it felt like
Uh-huh.
maybe this is a character you would encounter like if you were playing the game, right? You would encounter this guy
Right.
that's like just straight to the point, like really, really good, really OP, really good at everything, but also like just very bland. And like I thought they
Right.
did a really good job of kind of capturing that of like he literally has no downsides. And like when he walks away, it's like, is he gonna go around that rock? And he just goes over it
that
like
that
it
was good.
like an NPC or something. Like
Yeah.
that was funny.
I heard this as well, and I thought this was a fun way to look at it as well, is, as if, like, you have a regular group of people who play a campaign of Dungeons& and Dragons, and then they
Hmm.
just have a one friend that comes in for one day who's bored and just has a one-off character, and it's that guy.
Hmm.
So which is why he's not in it for very long. It's like, "Oh, we just had him for the day, and then he's out," you know?
Hmm. He just gets every role right. Everything's right.
Yeah, he's yeah, just yeah. But yeah, no, his choreography, that sword fight he has against all those really boring looking undead people, of the minions, whatever,
Hmm.
in the Underdark. I thought all that choreography, that sword play was really creative and really well shot. I thought that was actually really good.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, could have used more of him, but I think he did a pretty good job. I was
Yeah.
worried for a second that it would go the way of like he's such a badass and then instantly dies when they go down there, but I'm
Hmm.
glad they didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think I love this the part where he was like going to that really in depth explanation of how they're going to cross that bridge. And it
Yeah.
feels like that would like so it feels like you're if you're playing the game like your dungeon master might explain that to you just like he did, and then the first person to roll would be like, ah, fuck it, let's
Like,
go,
whoops. Yeah.
like let's see what happens. And
Just
like
ruins it.
and then they just I like how they kind of did that in the movie too, where it's like there's a little bit of chaos like because you are dealing with like four different players, and some might be taking it a little bit more seriously than others.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. No, I thought that was a good joke. Which, yeah, speak the person who does that, let's talk about, what's his name? Justice Smith, who played, Simon, the
Hmm.
wizard. The wizard who is bad at his job.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, pretty good. I don't think anyone in this movie is particularly bad is the thing. But I
Yeah.
just there's no real standouts for me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
I just think they're all they're just good. They're just doing their
Well,
job, you
that's
know?
exactly. I think for me, when think of my point about this movie, is like I wish they'd lean more into the comedy. He is kind of what pops in my head of like you can tell he has like the instincts. I just
Yeah.
wish he had some more lines because like his character got a little bit more serious, and then like the shapeshifter girl, she was very like not funny for most.
Yeah.
Like I mean, they could have done more. Like so, both of them they didn't really flesh out very much. It felt
Right.
like, and but with the fact that there are only four of them, it felt like they had more time to like maybe
Mhm.
flesh out the characters a little bit more, but yeah, they kind of fell short a little bit.
Yeah. They chose to keep it light rather than get a little more in depth, and I think, yeah, could have used a little more of that, you know?
Hmm.
Because they were supposed to believe that, oh yeah, this guy courted her and she rejected him, and at the end, okay, now they're together again, type
Right,
of thing. It's like, yeah, I guess so. Why not? It's a Dungeons and Dragons movie. It's very light, you know?
right. I mean, the way he started was really strong. I think he started like his lines
Yes.
were really funny because he sucked so much. Like that was funny. And then like the more like when he had the whole thing with like he had to fight like his ancestor for the helmet thing. That was,
Oh, with the helmet, yeah.
by the way, that helmet was like super important, and he just did not. They conveniently just like lost it and never like even talked about it again. It's
Yep.
like that's just laying on the ground there in that hallway.
That's true. I forgot about that.
I was like, "Yo, use the
Yeah.
helmet," and he just didn't have it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah. That's a
We
good
spent
point.
half the
Yeah.
movie getting that helmet, and then
Right, right.
use it one time.
So, since you brought her up, let's talk about, Doric, which is the druid shape changer character,
Hmm.
played by Sophia Lillis, who I didn't realize that's the girl from It. I was like, "Who would
Oh,
why does she look so familiar?" I was like, "That's the same the little girl who's
oh
the only
shoot!
girl in the crew and in It." Yeah.
Dang, man, didn't know that. That's cool though.
Yeah. I liked her cool owlbear. I thought the owlbear was pretty dope
Yeah,
looking.
man,
That
that's
was pretty
also a
dope.
terrifying concept.
Yes, very much.
I think that's probably the coolest shot in the movie. The coolest sequence was her running from the
Her escape.
castle, and she's like
Yes.
shifting different things, and running through different buildings, and like being different things. I thought that was really really cool.
The big one shot. Yeah,
Yeah,
just tracks with her the whole way. Very cool shot. Some of the CG again a little wonky. That
yeah, yeah,
deer
yeah,
looked pretty terrible, but very cool and very creative in terms
yeah,
of all that. I thought that was very fun.
yeah. That
Yeah.
was cool.
Let's quickly talk about the villains. Obviously we talked about
Hmm.
Hugh Grant a little bit. Very fun, very foppish. He's the con man. I think
Hmm.
I think he was having a ball throughout most of this movie. He's very charming and funny.
I was kind of surprised he was in this movie. I was like, Hugh Grant, like, it
I
seems like an
know.
odd. casting
So
choice.
weird.
Also odd that he would say yes to this movie. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
bizarre.
he's a fan, but I
Maybe
liked him a lot. He was pretty funny.
right, right. Yeah, I definitely thought he was gonna be in the movie for, like, 5 minutes and then be out, but no, he's in it. He's in this movie.
Yeah, yeah, good bit.
Um, yeah, he's great. I think, the Red Witch, Sophina,
Mm.
um, just
Bleh.
it's fine. Yeah, yeah. It's just super generic. I don't. And this, I don't really blame them as much as I wonder if this is pulled directly from like an art book of Dungeons and Dragons. That I don't give a
Mhm.
shit. The whole all the evil people are all these bald freaks. Are all these? They're
Right.
all bald and scary looking type of thing. It's just kind of again even more generic by making them all symmetrical
Mhm.
or not symmetrical, identical in terms of them all having the same kind of features and dress. But it's just whatever, and then there's a big red mist that is evil and yeah. But it does what they need to do, I guess.
I mean, that's a pretty terrifying existential threat too, because once they're turned, they can't die,
Right.
and
Yes.
like
Yeah.
whole kingdoms just fall to that, and we're just kind of, oh, but let's have this tournament. Like we're just gonna, just living our lives over here. It's like, bro, if that was your enemy, like it's like the flood. You can't fight that.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I will say this movie does have some genuine like scary parts, like jump scares,
Hmm.
um, and like just eeriness. There's one particular shot where I was like, "Oh, that's actually really, really eerie and good." Is where she's talking, she's sitting in her like weird room, the Red Witch, and
Hmm.
she's talking to the demon man who's
Hmm.
hidden in the shadow, and you barely see his features. I was like, "That's a genuinely like creepy shot, and, like,
Hmm.
that's really well done. That eared me out, and then you see him little later as he creeps out of the shadows, and I was like, "Oh, he don't look as scary anymore."
It's better when there's less
Never
light.
mind. Yeah.
Like most scary movies, as soon as you
Right.
turn the lights on, it's all over, bro.
Yeah,
But
just a dude in a suit.
it's like, oh well, now I can just punch you in the face.
That's yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like they didn't really go into him more. I guess they took her out because I guess Red Wizards maybe is just something that always is a danger in any game of Dungeons and Dragons you play. Maybe so maybe they're just kind of
Right,
like a constant, you know, force in that world, and you're never going to beat the main villain of the Red Wizards,
right. Yeah.
but there's something to look out for.
I'm sure there's multiple, like, demons and different lieutenant demons and whatnot
Hmm.
that are evil, and yeah, so I don't know.
Vecna, here we go.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah,
in there.
exactly, exactly.
How hilarious would that have been if they had just put in Vecna and it's just like the same guy,
That
same
would
suit?
it's so
Like they just do the
good.
exact same thing as like they just take the actual costume from Stranger Things, they just put it in the movie, just like and just don't bat an eye. Like
Yeah, just a fuck it, whatever. No, at the very end, it does the thing. They do the thing which I think I'm happy that they didn't do because there was a possibility that they would do this, but where at the end of the movie it actually like enters the real world and it's actually a bunch of kids playing
oh,
Dungeons and
that would have been
Dragons
cool.
together and it's
Yeah,
the Stranger Things kids.
that would have been wild if they did that. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So those are all the major characters. Now, let's talk about some of the bigger set pieces. One of the ones that I thought was the best in terms of comedy was the entire digging up the grave, the bodies,
Oh
and talking to
god,
all
that was
the dead
funny.
people.
I knew too they're gonna leave the last one without the last question. Like I knew they're
Oh,
gonna
it's
do that
so
shit.
mean.
I also knew the post credit was gonna be just going back to
Yeah,
him. Like I knew, like
yeah.
I was like, it feels like they're gonna do a post credit, and it feels like it's gonna be that one. But yeah, yeah, that was a very funny sequence. They're like, and they just kind of keep digging for the next one, like following the story.
That one also very much felt like you're playing, like, with a group of friends of Dungeons& and Dragons, and you don't quite
Hmm.
understand the rules, and there's one person who just keeps asking a question, not
Yeah,
actually addressing the thing. It's like, "No, that's what we weren't talking to you. That's not oh, damn it," you know?
yeah,
So that was very fun. That was very fun. I really enjoyed that whole set piece. That was great.
yeah. That was funny. Oh man, that poor guy. Just ask him the last question. He's like, oh,
I
what's
know.
your favorite color?
I do wonder if he can, like, get up and walk around now, though. Can he just, like, live life until someone asks him a question?
Yeah, good question. Yes, I don't
He's
know.
just running around from people who are about to ask him a question. He covers his skeleton ears. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Good question.
What'd you think of the Underdark and the big pudgy dragon?
The pudgy dragon was like that threw me for a loop. I was like, "What the hell?" But it was kind of funny how it couldn't move a lot. I think that maybe kind of like what you said about the effects, right? Maybe they knew like, okay, we're not going to blow anybody's mind with like a new
Right.
dragon CG, so let's just like do something different. So I like that. and
I did like that, yeah.
and kind of those giant chains and like the platforms they were on. That kind of is reminded me of Moria and Fellowship.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. The brain things was weird. I didn't like that, but I don't know Dungeons and
Oh,
Dragons like
the
that.
brain monsters that,
I
like
didn't like
w
that.
although I like the joke where they're like, they only go after
Yeah,
highly intelligent people, and then they just walk on by, like, well, that's kind of
that's a
insulting.
little hurtful. Yeah, that was funny. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Pretty cool sequence. Though they introduced that guy, the necro sword guy, and then like
Yeah,
he kills like five guards in like 2 seconds. And then they bring him in so early. They burned him so early. I was like, because like I mean he just died like pretty. The paladin guy killed him pretty easy.
right, right.
So
Again, the villains are just they're throwaway. They're
yeah, that's
whatever. Who
fine.
cares? Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like this is a separate game Easter egg, I guess. The fucking portal gun staff that they just chuck in this
Hmm.
movie. I was like, okay, we got a portal gun now. All right.
Oh man, but think it opened up so much for the narrative. Like
It did.
it was very clever how they did put it in the painting.
The
It's really
heist.
yeah,
Yes.
clever how they did the thing at the end with the balloon.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I
That was
mean
all really well done.
that thing is a plot mover. The thing is good.
It is, it is. It also spawned what a like, at least for me, one of my favorite lines in the movie where they're trapped, and the dragons, like, cornered them and the little caverns filling up with
Hmm.
water. And Chris Pine looks over at Simon, he's like, "Can you portal us out of here?" It's like, "I can only portal what I can see." He's like, "What do you want me to portal from this wall to that wall?" And they're, like, right across from each other. I was like, "Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good stuff."
uh,
Um yeah, so I thought that was the other thing I want to talk about is the heist. I thought all very creative because they used that portal really well. I thought that was very
hmm
fun use of the whole portal mechanic.
hmm
Yeah, and I think done well. It was really cool. I really enjoyed it. I like that
hmm
they have rocks for walkie talkies. Like,
hmm
well, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it worked out. You gotta have, it's like Fast and Furious. They all gotta have a walkie-talkie so they can talk to each other during the middle
Right.
of
Oh,
stuff going
yeah.
on. But yeah, and then oh god, when it just like the painting just fell flat on the floor. It's like this is the
Oh.
one thing that can throw off this entire plan.
Yeah.
Just somebody bumping into a table.
But I like how creative that Druid has to get with like just creating a tiny of enough of a crack so she can turn into
Hmm.
a worm to get through. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was clever.
She's probably the smartest one in terms of
Yeah.
like escape plans because she helps them later on when they're in the maze, the big arena, the
Ooh.
games with the maze and stuff of using that, I guess like acid jello?
Yeah, what the
Whatever.
hell, dude? That was so random. Like, I mean, and they all got out. Like, I don't know, man. It started burning your skin. Like, ugh, I'm glad they got out of there.
Uh, I like they were like, "Yeah, well, you only be in there in the second. You'll probably be fine." They're in there for a little longer than just a
Yeah.
second. I feel like someone should be burning a little more than
And also, if
that.
she pulled you out last, the order she pulled people out tells you a lot about who she cares
Oh,
about
yeah.
the most.
Right.
I don't. Did she pull out Simon first? I don't think so. Maybe.
I
Mm.
don't remember. I think she might have yeah, she
No,
might
I
have pulled
think
him out
Olga.
second.
I think she pulled out.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I thought that whole arena thing was kind of fun and with the weird like panther
Oh, dude,
alien
that thing
panther
was
things.
scary. That's a scary power. That is too good. That's too OP. You're
Yeah.
already OP. Just they didn't even need the illusion thing. That thing was
No, it
OP
didn't.
already. It's fast, strong. It's got like lots of legs, and then it just can randomly just create illusions. I was like, what? Fuck, that's
Yeah.
way too
I
much.
don't know. I did recognize also. I just thought about this right now. The mimic chest, the chest that's actually like a monster and it'll eat you type of thing. I was like, I think that's a Dungeons and Dragons thing, so that's kind of cool, very fun.
That's true. Yeah.
And then the last thing is just that big, obviously big superhero fight. I thought the Simon versus the Red Witch hand with magic fight was kind of interesting.
That was cool.
There were some cool concepts to them just fighting with big hands. And then my favorite thing is when after they cuff her, they put the little magic nullifying cuff on her.
Hmm.
The owl bear just beats the shit out of her for a good 5 seconds
Yeah.
and just like tosses her like the Hulk does to Loki in the first Avengers movie.
Hmm.
It's like, ah, that's just good
And
stuff.
then didn't they like her body like disintegrated or something after that? Right? Like I
Uh,
forget.
she flings her into a wall. She falls to the ground, and then a bunch of rocks
Oh,
fall on
okay.
top
Yeah,
of her,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
she might explode or something. I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah. Good enough. Good
It's
enough.
just a
Pretty
pile of red
emphatic.
mist.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we already talked about how they bring Holga back, and she's no longer dead, and
Mhm.
they're all happy together, and it ends very abruptly, I will say. I thought there would be a little more
Mhm.
epilogue, but they're like, "Nope, done. Movie's over.
Yeah,
Moving on."
go home. Yeah, yeah. It was, I mean, it was a good wholesome end. I don't know, his daughter's complete it's just child actor for me, whatever, but, like,
Yeah, she don't have much to do.
nah. But it was cool that he included her in the last plan, even though, like, that's how you really become a good father is you actually, include her. That's the point.
Yeah, you use your kids for heists and stuff, It's
Yeah, I
great.
wanna keep you safe, however, just put this on, and also the fact that she could go invisible was, like, I mean, she coulda used that a
Yeah,
lot of times.
absolutely. Absolutely. Very underutilized, very much could have come in handy a lot.
Right, and it feels like maybe that was a one issue with the Dungeons& and Dragons movies, like, the hardcore fans are sitting there like, "Oh, what if they could just get this item?" Or like, "What if they could just do this?" And, like,
Right, right.
pick it to pieces, but, yeah, I mean, there's some definitely very powerful magic things in Dungeons& and Dragons
Yeah.
that can change the whole story, but I guess that's kind of the point.
Yeah, absolutely. One last thing we gotta talk about.
Mhm.
Devin, can you tell me why Bradley Cooper was in this movie?
Okay. Maybe he's just walking by one day, like
What the fuck?
I also love how they did, like, their version of Hobbits was just like like they didn't like like Lord of the Rings, it's like kids, right? Like it looks real. This was
Right, no.
so ridiculously not real looking. Like it's just like a small man.
They just scaled him down,
Yeah.
like, they grabbed the top corner of him and just
Yeah.
scaled him
Yep.
down. It's, like,
Yep.
not proportional at all, it's just
Yep.
a tiny man.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was funny.
Uh,
That was a funny little Easter egg. But yeah, it was like he just has a thing for big barbarian women, man.
right, yeah, and, I mean Michelle Rodriguez has a thing for tiny men because you see
Yeah.
at her at the end, she's got some eyes at a different tiny
Oh
man.
my god.
I
Uh
was just like "Is he friends with anyone?" I was like, "Why the hell is Bradley Cooper in this movie?"
Yeah. That's man, I don't know, man. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe
Thought it
he
was pretty
is.
fun.
I'm sure.
Maybe. And that was one of the more genuine, like, wholesome moments of the movie. They're having a, like, honest conversation of, like, how they felt about each other and everything. I was like, "Oh, there were no real, like, jokes." Like, Bradley Cooper wasn't
Yeah.
making any jokes in this at all.
His joke was just
Uh,
like being in that scene,
right.
the kind of like logistics of them hugging and stuff was really funny. Like I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That was funny. It's
Yeah.
completely unexpected too. I'm glad they didn't ruin that with a trailer or something.
Yeah, yeah, same, same, same. But that's kind of it for me. Couple Easter eggs. There was a Baldur's Gate mention, obviously, in the
Hmm.
movie at one point. Very famous franchise of games, and obviously in this world. That's pretty much the only Easter egg I caught because obviously I am neither a Dungeons and Dragons connoisseur either. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Hmm.
Devin, I think this movie's doing well. It's doing well
Hmm.
critically and audience wise. I don't know how well it's doing box office wise. But if they were to do a sequel, would you want them to keep the same cast, tell a new story, add to this cast? Like, what do you think?
I'd say add to it, like,
Yeah.
or maybe bring in some bigger guns for this for the main squad, but keep Chris Pratt, keep Michelle Rodriguez.
Chris Pine.
Oh, Pine.
They're all the
God,
same. It don't
too many
matter.
CPs. Too many CPs. Chris Paul. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would say add to it. Maybe have a bigger squad and maybe do a little bit more character development, and then go on a quest. Um, just
Right.
have that, kind of look at Guardians and just like really get that team chemistry and
Mhm.
comedy going with like the different archetypes. And but yeah, I would definitely
Yeah.
see another one because I thought it was really fun, and I think that because it was fun and light and like it's kind of nice to have like a movie where the outfits are kind of nice and flashy and like what I
Yeah.
mean, kind of like this is like reminding me of like Ella Enchanted, where it's like very nice
Oh my
sets
god,
and
very much so.
yeah, you know what
Yeah.
I mean. Like so, I enjoy a good movie like that is like a fun fantasy world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not dirty and grimy like Game of Thrones or anything.
Hmm.
It's just yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I completely didn't think about Ella Enchanted. Yeah, that's a great comparison. Absolutely. They could be in the same world for all we know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think yeah, well, for me I would see another one like you said, yeah, get more into the heartfelt moments. I don't think there were
Yeah.
enough they didn't pull off quite pull off the heartfelt moments in this.
Hmm.
But I thought obviously bring back the paladin badass dude again. Like,
Yeah, that'd be
yeah, I
fun.
think he's got to come back again.
Just a cameo. That'd be good.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe, some more dragons. Let's see some more dragons, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, maybe I mean, maybe do, something a little dark, but I think that just, if the emphasis is on kind of comedy between the main squad and just putting them in situations
Mhm.
where that shines, like, that's what you wanna do with this kind of movie, so
Yeah. Put, like who would mesh well into this world? What
ooh, that's a
actors?
good question. Who else would you wanna add to this team? Hmm.
This is just because 'cause I'm thinking of, like, the MCU, but Chris Hemsworth would fit easily. Like, fucking
Yeah,
just being Thor would fit right into this world.
Thor really would, man, that would be funny.
It's just the same fucking thing.
Yeah. I could see, like, a golem kinda character or something, that'd be kinda fun, like a tank, like,
Yeah,
I don't
like a
know.
big like, yeah, big dumb
Oh,
dude,
you know, it'd
something
be
like
funny. Oh my god. The this geeked me out at the beginning of the movie, the Eagle Man. Did that was that like a
Oh,
practical I think that was like a practical suit, right? But
I
god, it
think
was
so.
funny. I mean,
Yeah,
that geeked me
yeah.
out so much when they were, like, riding him out of that jail, like, and he's
What
just,
was
like,
his
squawking,
name?
like, looking around.
Jarnathan. We need to wait. No, wait. I'm sorry. Is Jarnathan coming? We just need to wait for him. Like
And then they
I feel like
approved the
he,
pardon. They approved the
yeah.
pardon. But dude, add, like, a
uh,
goofy character like that in there that just looks goofy as hell the whole time, that would be funny too.
that's true. It'd be kind of like a King Shark and Suicide Squad. So they need something like that. Like
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
they need a big gun, kind of. No, I don't even necessarily think CG, but like that, yeah, a big practical bird man. That'd be
Oh
fun.
my god,
That'd
that'd
be
be funny. I
great.
think eventually it would take you out of the movie though, because like there'd be certain shots where they'd just be like this big Birdman walking around, and be like, that looks goofy as fuck. But I don't know. In the right doses, it's funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves,
Hmm.
listeners. Yeah, this was fun. I enjoyed this. I'd say check it out. Matinee. I wouldn't say pay full price at a
Yeah,
movie. Go
matinee.
see a matinee. You know. Yeah,
Or it'll be on streaming soon. But
it probably
a
will.
good nice light evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Not too bad. Devin, because it's Fortress Finest, and as per usual with this, we have to have some kind of sign off before we go.
Oh,
Uh, the only one I could think of with this movie, is they have a running joke with Simon about how they just want him to fix everything with magic. You know,
ah,
they're like, "Why can't you just do magic to do everything?" And there's one pretty funny line I thought. And I think you'll know this. So, listeners, when in doubt, just pay them.
that I don't remember the line.
Just just say it with magic, and we can go home.
Pay with magic. Pay with magic.
They just tell him to pay him with magic. They ask him to pay the bartender with magic, just to fix everything with magic. When in doubt, use magic.
I did like how he was like, how he's like, how many times do I have to tell you guys? You can't just fix everything. You can't just do everything with magic.
Yeah.
Like that feels like a real conversation you'd have at a Dungeons and Dragons table, dude. I
Yeah,
feel like I flop
absolutely.
on all the send offs on Fortress
No,
Finest.
no, no. To be fair, I just came up with that one, and it was very tough because there weren't a lot of quotable moments in this movie. Not gonna lie, like there weren't that many like lines that were
True,
throughout this
true.
movie. You know what I mean? So
Nobody
it was a little
goes off
tough.
trail, and nobody walks alone.
Yeah, ain't no rings of power. All right, Devin. Listeners, before we go, obviously you can email us at thefortressof@gmail.com, fortress, but F-O-U-R, for figure to email us any questions, feedback, recommendations, or anything like that. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and the YouTube channel at The Fortress of. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, tell your cat. Rate and review us. Follow the 3 R's like a good Bollywood movie. Rate, review, and recommend this to your friends. Thank you, Jackie, for helping edit the podcast every week. Thank you, Brian, for the art, Alex, for the music, and Devin, thank you for being here, even when you're not here. You can find Brian on Instagram at ITZ underscore, by the way, Alex at Peterson Films. Devin, you can find him holding on to dear life to Jonathan as he escapes a frozen
Hmm.
prison tundra.
Just that goofy bird just squawking around.
Yeah, there's Fortress Finest for you listeners. We don't know when we'll be back. Maybe we'll cover another movie, or maybe we'll cover another show. Who knows? But as usual, take care. This was a lot of fun. Thanks, Devin.
Hmm.
All right,
Pleasure.
listeners. See you next time.
Do we cut now? Okay.